High on Life is back with its sequel, and it's not the same game that you remember. It's much faster, has a much bigger scope, and it has a skateboard in it that, quite honestly, completely changes the way that you play this game. Obviously, let's address the elephant in the room. This is going to be the first game without Justin Roiland a part of the High on Life franchise. Obviously, with all the controversy that went on around him and his personal life, they decided to go on with this game without him being involved in the writing process, as well as just the game in general, so much so that they even removed his character from the game. But one thing I will say is that I noticed that this game seems to be a little bit less rambly and a little bit more focused on the gameplay itself and not so much just trying to talk as much as possible. That was one big thing and one big criticism that I know a lot of people had with the first game, but I also did as well, where it just kind of felt like it was a little too much. And in this one, they do tone it down a little bit, and I don't know if that's because of him or what, but that is something that I noticed straight off the bat. So the premise of this game is that you are a rogue assassin now taking on Big Pharma. In the previous one, you're taking down the G3 cartel and you are this bounty hunter. You still are a bounty hunter, but things don't go your way, and now you're on the run and you're an outlaw. So while you're outside trying to take down Big Pharma, and it's pretty much following the same story that it did in the first game, where they're trying to legalize humans so people can smoke them and use them as drugs. The only difference is, instead of a cartel doing it, it is now a pharmaceutical company. Now, first things first that I really want to talk about is the skateboard. It is one of the biggest mechanical shifts in the game. It completely changes the way that you interact with the specific zones, open zones that you have. There's rails, ramps, wall riding. Everything about it almost feels a little bit like a Tony Hawk game in that sense. It makes the game feel way faster, unique. Honestly, I think it drastically improves the overall gameplay of this game. It makes it more exciting and honestly more satisfying to play, given the absolute chaos that you can cause as you're moving across the environment. This game honestly feels like a mixture of Halo in terms of gunplay, as well as the Doom series in terms of movement and the way you solve puzzles and kind of go throughout the levels. But then it also has those elements of Titanfall, especially in the wall riding aspects, where it's almost like beat for beat of how Titanfall 2 does it or Titanfall 1 does it in some of these missions. And quite honestly, these are games that I all love. And some people even mention that it reminds them a lot of Sunset Overdrive in the terms of like how you can interact with this open zone, open world area. I never played Sunset Overdrive, so I can't really attest to that, but I have heard a lot of people say that it reminds them a lot of that game. Like I said, it has the gun mechanics of Halo, the movement, the melee, the puzzle design of Doom, and then the wall running of Titanfall. With this, it makes every encounter be different because of the speed that you can move at now. The devs did a great job of not just making the area that you fight in kind of just generic. They made it fit this new game mechanic. So a lot of the times you're kind of like riding rails, you're hitting ramps, walls, there's pools and a lot of other scenes that you can tell that they wanted to make these combat areas fit this new gameplay mechanic, which I think is really, really well done, because there's nothing I hate more than when a game adds a new gameplay mechanic, but then they don't really give you anything to utilize that new mechanic. And this game does that to the T. It makes combat and traversal just seem absolutely seamless now throughout the game, and kind of just makes you want to explore more, because now everything's just kind of moving a little faster. One of the big things too is being able to kill enemies while also still moving, which is just something you couldn't do in the first one, or just any game for that matter that kind of matches that playstyle. Like being able to be on a grinding rail while turning around and shooting enemies and killing them. Like, it's just a very satisfying feeling that you don't get in very many games, not even the likes of Titanfall or Doom. It's pretty cool and unique in that manner. Now, within this game, you bring in the whole cast back except for Kenny, obviously, who was voiced by Justin Roiland, but you're getting a couple new guns, one being Sheath and the other being Travis, where Travis almost kind of replicates what you had with Kenny. It's just a single fire gun, and then you get his wife Jan, where they turn into akimbos and just like single fire pistols almost. And then Sheath is like this 3-round burst assault rifle that has like this spear mechanic that you can use to create zip lines and get from one place to the other. They do a really good job of utilizing these new weapons in terms of how you traverse throughout the level, especially with Sheath in particular. Like, being able to create zip lines is honestly a game changer and really opens up the world to what you can do and how they're able to build the level design in this game. Now, in terms of the narrative and the comedy within this game, look, humor is very subjective. Overall, though, I think the game is pretty funny. There's definitely moments where it didn't hit for me, but in general, there was moments where this type of comedy, it almost made me feel a little nostalgic of the type of comedy that we used to see back in the early 2000s, where it's just absolute silliness and like goofiness and just it's not trying to be super witty. It's just like, hey, just let everything out on the table, let your inner middle schooler self out. And I can kind of appreciate that because you don't really see that. I don't think humor always has to be witty. As much as I do love humor, I think in that type of comedy, I do think there is a place and a little bit of like simplicity in having like this almost like dumb style, like Adult Swim style comedy that you kind of get within the Rick and Morty franchise. And they do a really good job of continuing that type of style of comedy. Now, honestly, I don't really mind the fact that Kenny, voiced by, like I said, Justin Roiland, is gone. I didn't really feel like he brought too much to the game. I didn't really necessarily find his character that funny, to be honest with you. And I might be on my own on that one. But I don't feel like he really stole the show in that first game. So in this one, even though he was gone, didn't necessarily feel missed. Like I was completely fine with him not being there. It still felt like a high on life game. It wasn't like we lost something super crucial to the story. I mean, I guess to the storyline, but I don't know. It felt fine without him. I didn't feel like I was really missing anything. Now, one of the things I really like what the developers did with this game is really changing up the variety of the missions that you play in this game. Like, for example, there was one that was a murder mystery, which it just kind of threw me for a loop that I didn't necessarily expect. Each mission is just honestly very unique in that sense. Each one really like, hey, how can we change it up? How can we make it different? How can we keep it fresh? I think they improved a lot in this department compared to the first game. The first game really just felt like a generic sci-fi. It had a generic sci-fi look. It kind of the same beats and the mission design, like you're just kind of shooting. But this game, they changed each level drastically from each one to make it completely different, and not just in the gameplay but also just in the visuals. Like there's this one where you're in this polygon world where it feels like you're in a Nintendo 64 universe, and then there's one where you're on a cruise ship, and that's where the murder mystery is. And it's just a variety of different ones that really keeps it fresh and unique, and you're kind of curious of like, okay, like where am I going to go now? And I thought that was really, really well done, because I felt that in the first game, towards the end, I kind of got a little bored of it. I was like, okay, I kind of get the appeal of the game. I enjoyed the first one a lot, but like right at the end, I'm like, okay, I think I'm kind of done. But not even just the levels, but also the bounties and the missions and the way you have to kill the boss as well. Like I said, we have the murder mystery. You have this time loop area where it almost feels like you are having to shoot. You shoot these portals with this bow and arrow like gun, and then you take out this wizard. That kind of felt like your more traditional boss style map. But then there was another one where the bug is like in your menu, and they are able to utilize the menu of the game to actually do a boss fight, which is super, super cool and very, very unique that I just haven't seen before any game do. And I thought that was immensely impressive, because the one downside to it is if you're trying to pause, you literally can't pause because you're in the pause menu trying to take out this little bug that is crawling all throughout your suit. Like amazing what they did there. And also just the side content as well. There's a lot of hidden side content within the open zone areas that are pretty interesting and unique. A lot of it's really just the lug boxes, which are lug boxes, or however you pronounce it. They're just like a way to get certain coins or skins for your skateboard or your guns or whatever it is. But it's still kind of fun that let's add sprinkle some stuff. And it's not very blatant either. Like you really encourage people to go and talk to some of the NPCs, see what we can find, mess with some of the environments. I like that. So the whole open zone is kind of like this big puzzle where you're just unlocking and uncovering new things, with a lot of callbacks to the first game as well, which I think is pretty cool. Honestly, it gives me something to want to do after the game's over. It's just like, hey, let's just explore, see what there is, what's hidden in there. Like I said, there's nothing more boring about an open world game was when they just plop dots everywhere, like go here, go here, go here, go here. This is like, hey, we want to leave it a little bit open. Let's see what you can find. And to round it off with the cast of characters, I think they brought back everybody like JB Smooth playing the frog shotgun thing. I think everybody did pretty well, just like before. Every gun fit the character really well. I think they do a good job of like really utilizing the abilities of each gun to make them pretty useful. So yeah, all good in that department. So one of the big things that I really have to mention about this game that everybody's talking about is honestly the launch date of it. I can't help but not say something about all the issues in terms of optimization, in terms of bugs that this game really released with. And it's pretty sad because quite honestly, I really like this game. And it really sucks that this game was so difficult to run, so much so that I couldn't play it on PC at a acceptable frame rate. I had to go play it on the Xbox Series X. So all the footage that you're seeing here is on the Xbox Series X. Not to say that I have a beefy PC, but I do have a 4070 mobile, which is not the best, but it shouldn't struggle like that difficult. At the end of the day, this is a relatively new mobile chip that is kind of the mid tier, and it shouldn't struggle that much to where I literally can't play the game at my 1440p. Like that just seems a little ridiculous. Xbox performance, when I first played, you can tell the game was running at a super low resolution. It looked really blurry, and you could probably see it in these clips here where you can tell that this was not playing at even 1080. It just looks so fuzzy, so blurry. As the updates came out, I noticed that the performance got a little bit more smooth. The frame rates weren't dropping as much. And you can also tell that the resolution improved a lot as well. And there was also bugs as well that we specifically saw in a lot of the boss fights where it wouldn't trigger to the next event, or just combat areas. Like I would clear out a whole combat area where enemies are coming, and then it'll just kind of sit there and just play the music. And then so I have to go reload the last checkpoint, and that stuff was a little annoying. But overall, I do see it's getting better and better. So it is a completely unacceptable state, and I'm so tired of how poor optimization is and the type of issues that games release with. It's really a shame because, like I said, I enjoyed the game, but I have a hard time recommending it to people at this exact moment instead of just waiting until everything's addressed. Because at the end of the day, it is a single player game. Like you want to leave a really good impression right out of the gate. So take that with what it's worth. Overall, if I want to compare this to the first game, I think it was a true evolution of the first game. Quite honestly, I think it's much better. Coming from someone who really enjoyed the first one, like I said earlier, it felt a little repetitive. This new gameplay loop and level design completely gets rid of that repetitive feeling for me, and it makes the game way more fresh. It adds lots of more content that the first game just didn't have. Like I said, they had a lot of cool, really unique ideas in here, especially in the boss fight area, each one feeling different and unique. It is available on Game Pass. It's $60 right now. Is it worth the entry fee? Look, I will say if it wasn't for the performance issues and the occasional bugs, I would say get it. Shadow it out. This game, if you love the first one, you're going to like the second one so much more. It's better in almost every single category, but I just can't recommend the game right now. If you want to try it out and you have Game Pass, sure, go ahead, try it out on Game Pass, see if you can run it if you have a beefier system than I do. But I can't in good conscience, if you have a mid-tier to low-end PC, I just say like, hey guys, wait, let some updates roll out, then get it. Or if you're on console, so far my console experience wasn't bad, especially now as I'm recording this video. It's much more improved. But I hope this is not the end of the series. I would love to see a High on Life 3. From all accounts, it seems like this game is reviewing pretty decently. It seems like a lot of people are enjoying it. It's a great 7 to 8 out of 10 game that if it has to hit that right demographic, right? So there's some people that are not just going to like the game, but for me and a couple buddies of mine, we just love playing this game. We're streaming it to each other and just talking about all the little hidden areas that we found. I really enjoy this game. If this game has any interest to y'all, like I said, put it on your wish list, check it out. And like I said, to everybody at Squash Games, please make a third one. I would love to see a third one and just improve even further in everything that you've done within the second one. And if you guys want to see more reviews and content just like this, please feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.